Hello, everyone. In fact, I'm doing it for more than 10 years. And what is also important, I know the fight from two sides. Once I was a public official, and it was much more than 10 years ago, around 15 years ago. I was working in one of the ministries, so also I'm the guy who knows how it can be seen from inside of the public institution. And for many, many years, maybe I spent several hundred hours working with the public officials to train them how to think open and how to open the data. So generally, it's like the first reduction when we're having this, the workshop, it's like they're not really into it, but then when they're realizing that it's also a kind of a help to them, they're changing their mind. But still, it's a long journey. So that's why you can see my dog, Lola. Lola is 9 years old, and she likes traveling. We took her from the shelter in a quite bad state several years ago, and now she's traveling around Europe so far. And I hope that we're gonna have the opportunity using Lola visit to go through the journey of do's and don'ts. Actually, it's don'ts and do's, because the problem with a journey into open data is that first we do a lot of mistakes, and then we try to realize what we should improve. So, like with the dog or the children, the open data is something that give us the feeling of connection of the two sides. So there is a public official, and there is and there is an NGO or the people that want to do something with open data, or the citizens. The citizens, actually, the open data are for citizens. So with the dogs and master or a friend, because she's a member of my family, we like to care about each other. We are, I need to feed her, I need to play with her. And this is exactly something that citizens want to get from public officials. This is to deliver services, but also to interact with each other. And this is something that we should bear in mind, because as the G8, now it's not G8 actually, it's an International Open Data Charter, is saying that people expect to be able to access information and services electronically when and how they want. So this is actually the main idea, is to open the data in a very wise way. And the first clue is yeah, don't keep data to yourself. There is wisdom in the collective. So this is Lola, this is Kazimierz, my son. They try to play with each other for quite a long time, but only recently she got trust for him to play with sticks or other stupid things. But anyway, the wisdom is in the collective. Sometimes the public officials, they're thinking that the people are rational like each 4 or 5 years. Why? Election time, right? So if they're voting for them, it means, yeah, they're cool. But between those periods, the people won't understand the data. I mean, why we should give them information? Because they don't know the context, they don't know how it does work, they don't, very often, and this is something that I see that is one of the greatest obstacles in the connection between public officials and citizen, is that the very first question when I'm talking about open formats with them, they're saying, okay, but if I deliver the information in open contract, right? It's in open format, and it's a contract, for example, and the citizens can basically change something afterwards, and they can claim this is ours. I mean, this is not a very good, attitude. So basically, without having this feedback from the people, it's really hard to gain trust. So therefore, think open and sharing information with citizens should be considered in every case for all data. And the very important thing when we're talking about open data is not only the technological aspect of that, it's also the thinking behind, I mean that all information that is held by public officials or public institutions should be delivered to the public. That is, everything that is produced or possessed by the public officials, public offices, should be open to the people. Of course, there are some exceptions. So, for example, the privacy. And it's a huge problem when you're talking with the public officials on that. For example, in Poland, we fought for many, many years to get open contracts with the names of those who delivered the services or made something for the public institution. And the feeling was, it's all started with one of the politicians, actually, the councillor in the city of Warsaw. He wanted to know the amount and the identity of the people that deliver some sort of the services for the municipality. And the municipality claimed that it is a private information. They could not do that because it is connected with money and the person itself, so it's a private matter. So what was the reaction of him and the people around? The reaction was, they're hearing something, right? Something is wrong with that. But after the long court battle, after 3-4 years, the Supreme Court said, you have to deliver that. And it also changed the way we do open contracts. Now in Poland, you had a chance to see Mayor Adamowicz from Gdańsk, and he's doing it now openly. Why? Because they see it changed the attitude of the people. And this is actually the thing that you should explain to public officials, and I do explain to public officials, that there is a gain behind, right? It's not like opening a data because you have to be transparent and blah, 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 blah. It's you have to see the gain. And therefore, the public official can't think that he knows the best, or she, what is interesting for citizens and helpful for your colleagues, meaning the colleagues of the public official. Is it like this is so important because sometimes we're having this perspective that we know all like the best, what is interesting for the people, what gonna help the people, and so on, so on, so on. But at the same time, it's again the same with believing that the people are rational. We have no idea. I mean, probably each of you can tell me the example of data that are open, that someone put somewhere, but you use it? Nah, you don't use it because it's at least at some point is not useful for anyone. It's really nice to have a nice product on the site, but what we would like to see is that someone will use the data. We're always saying, actually, we're very happy, guys, that you're opening data. It's cool, yeah, good job. But remember, you're opening that someone could reuse it, use it, at least look at it, right? So this is a very important factor, that you can engage the people, because sometimes even, I think it also can work in Ukraine or other countries, but in Poland, sometimes citizens know much better which data sets are in the possession of public offices. So they can help, they can say, okay, you have this registry, and then sometimes the mayor says, oh, really? Oh, yes, thank you for that. So Remember to engage citizens to get feedback on what else they need, or actually what they need. I mean, this is the most important thing, because you're opening for people. I mean, people, business, NGOs, citizens. So also it's very important that while you're working on your strategy to open the data, you try to include a lot of people in that. And very important thing, so if you advocate to open some data in public offices, you have to use this argument. Like, you have to ask employees, I mean, the mayor has to ask, mayor or another public official has to ask employees what data will help them to perform the duties. I told you that I had this experience being the public officials in one of the ministries, and every time I needed an information, I needed the data to do my work, I had to think like, who can get it? And then I just start to run through the stairs, up and down, looking for the information. I mean, it's healthy, but I got really frustrated, and the performance of my work was actually much lower. So this is an argument, and you giving this this information while advocating for opening data, you also have to say that your job will be easier. You will be more effective, right? So the best example is that we're very often starting advocate for opening the data, asking guys like, how many FOIA requests did you receive? And say like, oh, last month was 100. Okay, what you can do about it? I don't know, maybe I will restrict the access to information. I said, no, just put everything online. If it's online, you have less work. I mean, sorry, maybe it's brutal, but this is how it works. I mean, we all want to have a bit less of our work. And great, we have this situation that we're thinking, or the public officials are thinking open. They ask employees about that, but that's a bureaucratic problem. Don't charge for data, and don't impose disproportionate bureaucratic restrictions. We can tell about some restrictions, like you have to, for example, register to get the data. You sometimes have to justify what you're going to do with the data. We had this problem in Poland, and for example, you had to claim whether it's non-commercial or commercial use. I think it's not a matter of dividing the people for NGOs and businesses, because open data works for all. The other thing, obviously, is the copyright. The copyright is an important obstacle to deliver the data, and very often public officials are afraid of letting the people to know some information or to reuse the information, because they are afraid that someone will sue them because of that. But what you have to do, and what we are doing for many, many years, you have to advocate for implementing the rule that everything that is done with the public money should be delivered to the public for free, because this is ours. This is ours. So also you can see that the fight for open data is also a fight on different fields, right? It's not only connecting directly connecting this public official that is about to open the data, but you have to make a policy and advocacy efforts to just make it possible to deliver the data. So this is to allow others to reuse the data without any restrictions. It's not always possible. For example, the matter of costs. It's, for example, in the European Union or under European Union directive on reuse, you can charge, but it has to be a reasonable cost. You can't generally have exclusive agreements with the people, like with some, for example, a timetable of buses in municipality. You give only to one company. So this is a restriction in in fact. And what is also quite important while talking with public officials is that you have to remember, you have to say to them that it's not only about putting the data on the website, but also enable people to find the data, right? Because sometimes you have to click like 40 pages to get to the information. And the other problem is actually this, that you all know, that we have a really bad formats. I mean, you can, okay, I mean, they put everything, contracts, but they are in a picture file or a PDF that you can't actually do anything about it. So this is another case that actually, okay, they thinking open, they did it, but I don't care. I mean, they can't use it. The people can't do anything. The people cannot interact with the government. And this interaction, and especially in the term of the usable format, is very important because you can mix different data. That's why we are talking about information with rich metadata and in machine-readable form. Because, again, you can explain to the public officials, we want your data, but maybe we will create something, or we will take data from other office, or we will, as we can see, we saw some examples here, we can collect our data, the data for ourselves, and then we can enrich your registries, your work. So this is the most important case, and therefore, as I have 1 minute 24 seconds, we have to remember that opening the data is a systematic process, right? The public officials and you guys have to think about it, meaning to work on the strategy, develop, evaluate, check what is wrong, what was good, be critical, but be open also for criticism. And the most important thing when you're doing it, or I mean, you advocating for open data, is that you remember that NGOs, it's actually something that Kuba Vignański was saying, like, we can't nominate ourselves. We also have to remember to include other actors. It's also quite important in the terms of trying to speak with the public officials, because sometimes if there is an NGO coming, I mean, say, stupid geeks. But if you're saying, okay, but business is interested in opening data, sometimes it's completely different story. But it's not about just telling them or pretending that there is a business behind. It's also your role to engage the business, and it's a role of public officials to do the same. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, like, you have this great experience, and in Ukraine we're working with these laws on the access for the public data, and it's indeed working, but still, what would be the first priority? What probably would be the first, if you need to focus, what are the most important things in the very, very beginning?
Oh, it's, what, 2 minutes you said? No, 2 hours? No. Okay.
Priorities.
No, priorities. Okay, there are some. Now, the problem is, first of all, I think it's distrust that I mentioned, right? I mean, you have to gain a trust mutually, meaning you have to trust the public officials should trust you. And this is a case of, like, not directly connected with opening data, but generally with actually what was mentioned today on the stage, which was Tom Steinberg, for example, was claiming about this being adversarial or like being tough on getting the data or being more into negotiations. You have to feel it. Like sometimes you have to go to court and then they respect you, because you won with the public office. And when it comes to which data sets, for example, should be a priority to open, I'm always saying transparency. I mean, the ones that are connected with public procurement, with open contracts, because then, when they are opening this data, I can see they are committed to do it. They are committed to open the data, and it's a chance that they will do it with different data sets later. Thank you.